Before we get to example 2 in section 8.2, let's talk about computing future value using simple interest. Now the difference in this equation versus the last equation that we saw, which was just I equals PRT, is one, there's an A in it now. Now this A we've seen before, and A typically means future value. In fact, A really means principal plus interest. So it tells us the amount in the account versus just the interest part of the account for us to figure out. In the last example, the interest was 120, which means we started with $500. Our total in the account would have been $620. We have to physically add those things together in order to get that amount. With this equation, we don't, because the A is going to tell us it would be $620 if we use this as the example. The difference being that we don't know what the interest is specifically. So we have to take A minus P in order to find the interest if that question ever comes up. So this one tells us that the A really is the principal plus the interest together. But what P is, again, is still the starting amount. A is the ending amount. 1 is 1. R is the interest rate as a decimal. T is time in years once again. So it's a simple way to calculate interest, but again, calculate what's the final amount, or sometimes called the future value of the account. Sometimes A is called the future, and P is called the present. So if we look at example 2 on page 398, it says part A says future value, or sometimes referred to as FV, future value. Assume that you deposit $1,000 into an account paying 3% annual interest for 6 years. Use simple interest formula to calculate the future value of this account. So in other words, we're looking for the A value, right? What do we know in this problem? We know we're starting out with $1,000. That's the P value. We know the interest rate was given to us at 3%. So for us, once again, that's going to be 0.03. Again, if you're not sure, take 3 divided by 100. You should get 0.03 for that. And then the time was 6 years. So now we've got the principles in here we can use to calculate the equation. So A equals our P value, 1,000, times 1 plus the interest rate, 0.03, times 6. All right, so we're going to do this inside first. So we're going to bring up our calculators and we're going to do this 0.03 times 6 first. Then we're going to add it to 1. And once we have that amount, then we're going to multiply the whole thing times 1,000 to achieve our final answer for A here. Let's bring up our calculator. Let's clear off anything that may still be lingering on here. And so we start in the parenthesis. We take 0.03 times 6, and we hit enter to get our answer. Then we say plus 1, right? Because there's a plus 1 right next to it. And once we have that, we say times 1,000. And then we can hit our enter button, and the answer is 1,180 as our value here. And so we'll come back over here and we'll say it is 1,180. So that's the total amount in the account at the end of 6 years. The difference between 1,000 and 1,180 is 180, and 180 would be the interest if someone asked us for that. So that is achieving the A value, the future value. Part B in the same example here talks about present value, or PV sometimes as people call it. It says, assume that you plan to save $2,500 to take a whitewater rafting trip on the Rio Grande River in New Mexico in 2 years. Your bank offers a certificate of deposit, a CD, that pays 4% annual interest, computed using simple interest. How much must you put into the CD now to have the necessary money in 2 years? So what we don't know on this one is the P value. We know the A value, so we know that A is 2,500. That's what we're trying to get to. We know what the interest rate was. They gave us a 4% interest on this one. Again, we write it as 4%. We're going to call it as 0.04 for us. And then the time, we know it's 2 years from now that we're taking this trip. All right, so in our case, we know that 2,500 is the A value. The P value, well, that's the unknown value in this case. We know 1 is 1, plus we know that our interest is 0.04. And we know that the time is 2 years. All right, so once again, what we're going to do is we're going to start in here. We're going to take 0.02 times 4, then we're going to add 1, and we're going to come back to this screen so we can set it up properly. All right, so bring up our calculator. Clear off anything that may still be lingering. When we say 0.04 times 2, which is 0.08, plus 1, which is 1.08. All right, so let's go back to our screen here because we know right now that 2,500 is equal to P times 1.08. So now we're going to divide both sides by 1.08 so we can figure out what exactly we need to put into this account for 2 years and have it sit there. So P is going to equal 2,500 divided by 1.08. So we're going to take 2,500, I'll show you a trick on this calculator, divide it by, I could put in 1.08 again, or instead I could do this, hit the second button, and then hit the negative sign here, and it should say ANS. Now ANS is the last number that we had on here. So effectively it is 1.08. And then I hit enter, and it tells me it's going to take $2,314.81. So we come back over here and we say $2,314.81. Now your book says, hey, if you look at the number again on our calculator, you know, it's 81 cents and it's a 4/10 of a penny, really. So they say, you know, you might as well be safe. And even though you aren't technically supposed to round this 1 to a 2 because of 4, 4 is close enough, and you wouldn't want to be sitting there in 2 years with $2,499.99. So there's nothing wrong with also rounding this up a penny to $2,314.82. Or if you're even risk adverse there, just saying, you know what, I'm going to make it at even $23.15 and kick in another few cents there just so it's an even amount of money. Definitely that would ensure that you had your $2,500. But the very bare minimum is $2,314.81.